Hello guys, HeliPilotGh. So in the previous video, I talked about the structure of the flight training school. I mean, general structure. Obviously, it may be different when you go to a different school, but generally, that's the whole idea, the whole concept. Do your ground and blah blah blah. You fly. Yeah, we talked about that. After talking about that, a few friends asked me, Charlie, what are some of the challenges you faced? And how was it? Charlie, was it hard? Charlie, so I listed some of the challenges I faced that I think that it would be good for me to share with you. The first one I had was cognitive overload. That's why sometimes I don't blame certain institutions for picking some specific kind of qualifications, like sciences, geography, engineers. Because if you're an art student or a business student, you are not going to learn Newton's third law, or you are not going to understand Bernoulli's principle or Venturi's tube. You are not going to understand four-stroke engine. You are not going to understand pressure difference, fluid pressure. It's difficult because you have no idea, because before you learn how to fly in your ground school, there are certain courses that you must know. Like in weather, you are going to learn so many things in weather that are science related. So there's overload. I mean, brain overload. Your mind a burst. You know, they mix aircraft systems with weather, with Charlie. It's not a joke. So that is one major problem that you can face. And the overload. I mean, cramming everything into your head. Because again, if you are sponsored by an institution, pressure day. Pressure guy, pressure deal. I don't be joke. If you are so sponsored, you can relax and do what you want to do. But actually, if they sponsor you, you have to push yourself. And trust me, you can always do it. You push yourself to the limit, you can do it. The only thing is that sometimes people want chill. If you have the focus, you no go misbehave like that. The second is financial pressure. If an institution is training you, you can run away from that because I mean they will take care of you in that regard. But if you are self-sponsored, the financial pressure is real. So self-sponsored can be by yourself, that's individually, or by a parent. So if you are sponsored by a parent, and your parents can, I mean, most of them are rich kids, so they can. But if it's you, I mean, Charlie, it's not a joke. If I tell you the cost of renting an aircraft to train for an hour, add that to the ground lesson, add that to your hostel fees, your feeding, the transportation. I mean, it's a lot of pressure. So those who are self-sponsored sort of go through these things. I am yet to find out if the institution sponsored people have this problem, but I know it's common with self-sponsored people. The third one is time management, balancing the social life and life outside the flying environment. Some people find it difficult to find that balance, but I think it's important you do that because time management is a big deal. You can relate that to even the cognitive overload. That if you don't manage the time well, you have a flight in 2 days and you misbehave. I mean, and now the day before or some hours before, you are now forcing things into your head. You have a problem. So the time management is key. Another one that really affected some of my colleagues was fear and anxiety, especially when you are preparing for a check ride or a state check or an exam. And when you are institution sponsored, you know that if you don't pass, your institution is bringing you home. A guy, you go think. But if you are self-sponsored, sometimes you can work on that. Although you may be anxious, but you are paying and the school wants your money. So, I mean, but you're still that fear and anxiety, which is, like I said, quite common with those who are institution sponsored because you must meet your institution's requirement. Another thing is adapting to changing conditions and in culture shock. You go to a place where you've not been before to learn how to fly, and you are flying to airports you've not been to by road. You just look at them on the map. So all those things play a part, and it really affected the progress. Also, another challenge is mastering communication. You see how I speak? I speak like a typical Ghanaian. Go and meet some American Southerner or some British guy or some Chinese. Charlie, I go do am. All these things play a part. The pressure overload. And you are talking to the radio to an American who is, then Charlie, you did it. Say again, please. Say again, please. Your instructor has to come in and maybe you meet an instructor who has an accent. Like, man, the communication becomes a problem. And all these things can cause physical and mental fatigue. All these things, they are all related, causing physical and mental fatigue. Also, one major thing that affects the training is weather pattern. I always say that I feel that it would be good to go for your training in maybe October, you know, gets cold, sort of get good weather, kakra. in October, November, December, so that by the time you are in summer, you have cleared most of your flights. Because if you start training in summer, thunderstorms are your friend. You will be postponing so many flights and it may go a long way to affect you, especially when you are institution sponsored. And then there's something called proficiency plateau. You start giddy, 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 then now you are flat. Charlie, you cannot go. You are stuck. And everybody has that point where they get stuck. I'm telling you, ask any pilot in training or any pilot who is flying now. When they were in training, they always had this place where they always got stuck. You struggle to overcome it. But you know, when you overcome it, it sort of builds your confidence more. But there's always that place where Charlie, you start giddy, 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 and pa, waka. You can't go anywhere. And finally, we cannot avoid this very important one also, the fear of failure. Again, especially when you are sponsored by an institution, you cannot fail because you cannot return and they say, oh, this guy went and he didn't make it. You know, but if you're an individual, if it doesn't work, well, there are some guys that I met in flight school who were training, who were paying themselves. One guy flew the heli once, twice. He was like, this is not my calling, man. He quit. But I know if the institution is paying and you're going back to work there, you dare not say you cannot. Because you know, the fear of failure, we look at the fear of failure in a positive regard, such that it sort of pushes us beyond our limit to achieve. So although it's a major challenge, we still look at the positive side of it. So these are some of the challenges that I face and some of them faced by some of my colleagues. If you have any suggestion, I mean, if you, drop comments below, make us see what they think. Or if any pilot listens to this and has another fear, or anybody aspiring has a fear, you can put it down and let's discuss. Okay. Cheers. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe.